okay? It is a true pleasure to be here in New Jersey. I've just been here for a few hours. I got in after midnight last night because I was in Salt Lake City. And I went there because I heard about a charter school that serves about 100% Latino population, about 100% on free and reduced lunch. This is a charter school that raises about $1 million a year in the community. They only get about $3,000 a year per student from the state. And they were having a fundraiser, and they asked me to come. And I was blown away. I spent the morning at this charter school, and I was visiting in the classrooms. It was incredible. And it reaffirmed in my mind what this movement is all about. They don't just start in kindergarten. They start in pre-K. They don't just teach kids, they teach parents. They have parent educators that spend 1 day per week at the homes of the kids where they teach the parents how to be parents. And I think to myself, how many public schools in this country over the life of this country have done those kinds of things? And so it is just so encouraging, so positive, so optimistic that this is I think Nelson would agree, the most important revolution or reform of public education in the history of the United States. And we are all a part of it, all of us in this room. And I know the school I talk about in Salt Lake City is great, but it isn't the only one. And I look forward to learning from you what you're doing and the fantastic work with children that is happening in this state. It truly is a great thing. Now, I'm missing 3 days of school as a 7th and 8th grade math teacher this week because tomorrow I'm in Indianapolis. Fortunately, I've got a sub who's better than I am. But we are leading the way. We in this room and in rooms like this all over the country. And as Nelson said, we have a huge responsibility right now. Charter schools have taken center stage, and it's no longer a test program. This is for real, and it's only going to get bigger and better. We are re-engineering public education, and as you well know from your work every day, that it is extremely hard work. Why would anybody be doing this? More accountability, more hours, more stress, because we are changing the face of public education. And it needs to be changed. 70% of 8th graders in the United States don't read on grade level. The United States ranks near the very bottom of developed countries in the world in terms of graduation rates. And in terms of math, which is what I teach, we rank 25th in the world. Now, I would say, and I suspect some in this room would say, that education is our most urgent problem in the United States. But certainly that's not how this nation really feels. If we did a poll in New Jersey or in any state, it wouldn't come out as number one. The number one problem in the United States is what? The economy. That's what people think, and certainly it is a significant problem. The financial crisis, the home foreclosures, the unemployment, on and on. But if you go back a few months, and you did a poll of Americans that said, what is our nation's most urgent problem? It probably would not have been the economy. It was probably a $4 a gallon gas. And before that, it was the war in Iraq. And I feel confident that we are going to lick this economic problem here eventually. It may not be really a short-term problem, but we do seem to go from one short-term problem to another in this country, and never does education take that number one position as our most urgent problem. And I think, and I know I'm speaking to the choir, that this truly is, over the long term, what we must be most concerned about. And I agree with Nelson that there is significant reason to be hopeful that there's going to be a real change, not only in Washington, but throughout our land in terms of the attention and devotion to solving the crisis that we have here. Now, I never thought I'd be standing, talking about education at a group like this, or even in front of a classroom. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, my own teacher asked all of the students to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I've noticed that other students in the class drew things like police cars and fire engines, and I drew a picture of a man sitting behind a desk. And above that desk was a sign with 2 words on it. It said, income taxes. Now, in 3rd grade, to be honest with you, I didn't even have a clue what income taxes were. And I certainly didn't know how wonderful they could be. But I did know that I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. My dad, Henry Block, and his brother, Richard, founded H&R Block in 1955. Now, I should point out to you that there's only about 2 weeks left in tax season. So I think I should probably stop right here and see if anybody does have any tax questions. But I don't want to answer your tax questions, and truthfully, if I did, they'd probably be wrong today. I've been away from it for 14 years, and so now I have a different kind of stress, not one that relates to that April 15th deadline, and I'm happy about that. But for 19 years, I was in that tax business, and I really enjoyed my career there. But it was about at the time that I succeeded my dad as CEO of the company that I began to think that maybe this wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And I felt, truthfully, that I wasn't all that happy. I felt something was missing, something big and fundamental in my life. And I finally decided that to be truly happy, I had to seek a different kind of fulfillment, one that was not so financially related, not where the focus was so much on me. And gradually, my thoughts turned to education. Now, I'd had a couple of experiences once in college. I taught French. My students knew I was a 20-year-old college student, not a real teacher, and they called me Mr. Blockhead. Then I taught taxes, and none of my students there called me Mr. Blockhead to my face. And I never tell my students today anymore that my first experience as a teacher, but my students call me Mr. Blockhead. I know that would be the beginning of the end. But I, after doing a lot of soul searching, left in 1995 to become an inner city teacher. And I didn't have a teaching certificate at that time, so I worked at a Catholic school and worked to get my teaching certificate while I was also teaching. And 3 years later, after pondering the kind of questions I think all of us ponder every day, why is it so many inner city kids don't use the opportunity of a good education for a better future? Why is it so many schools in our country are failing in the urban core? And you know as well as I do, these are such complex problems. And the factors, the causes extend well beyond the 4 walls of a classroom or an individual school. And that's what each of us is working so hard to deal with every day.